Hello, Red Wave. Welcome to Wear Bulldogs podcast. My name is Caleb Nail. Joining me, as always, the man of the hour, Caleb Pletz. Mr. Pletz, how are you doing, man?
Oh, I am great. It's been a long day driving home from Phoenix, but Dogs have a statement win, I guess. Very strange game, but coming away 29-0 shutout game is awesome. So overall good. A lot of travel this weekend, but glad to be home and glad that the Dogs came away with the victory.
Yeah, we were talking before. Sorry. Well, the baby's crying, but you got home 5 minutes ago from Phoenix.
Yes.
The prep on this episode has been very little. I am still in Phoenix with family, and I woke my son up. So I'm sorry about that. My wife said, "Don't yell." I tried. I tried. But the good thing is that we have way better Wi-Fi now. So there shouldn't be too many issues. We're going to get to all of your things in a second. Caleb, the Dogs win 29-0. Shut them out. And they force a bunch of turnovers. So it was quite the game. You said it best in the stadium. We're sitting there and you said, "This is death by 1,000 cuts." And I thought that was spot on. It was really hard to watch. It was hard to watch their quarterback situation. Just so everyone knows, they were on their fourth string quarterback. Rashada, their first string, was injured, didn't play. Drew Pine comes in, has 2 fumbles, and gets injured. Third string quarterback comes in, injured. Fourth string quarterback finishes the game, and I believe all 3 quarterbacks had a turnover at some point or another.
Yep.
It was wild, death by 1,000 cuts, and Bulldogs come in clutch again. We're gonna break down all of our thoughts, but we want to get to you guys first, and then we will get to our Beware Bulldogs player of the game and play of the game, and then we'll get out of here, and then I got to make a trip home tomorrow. So welcome everyone. Welcome in the chat. By the way, you can find us on YouTube, Beware Bulldogs, Instagram, Beware Bulldogs podcast, and on X, Beware_Bulldogs. We're live on X and YouTube. You can hop in the chats there and let us know where you're watching from and what beverage you are enjoying. As I see Jesus of East is that Los Angeles? But Jesus is in the chat. Bulldogs Bob's here. Matt Wright's here. Andrew Wren is here. I see all you guys on YouTube. I can't see Twitter, but Caleb sees Twitter. So thank you guys for tuning in. Let's get to you guys. Matt right away says we kicked too many field goals. Jesus is asking if Damian Moore is injured. Yes, he is injured. Yeah. And then last thing, Bulldogs Bob, since you guys were at the game, how many Bulldog fans were there? There was a good amount. I wouldn't say it was crazy. It wasn't like SoFi, that's for sure, but it was a good amount.
Yeah, it was good. I'm pretty bad at estimating numbers, but I mean, it looked like the full allotted section for road teams there was full for Bulldogs, and there was a lot of red scattered throughout, and especially right behind the visitor bench, there was a good amount of red there. So yeah, I'd say, I don't know, maybe 5,000. But yeah, overall it was a good turnout, and I mean, the fans that are traveling to this type of game are going to be loud, so you could definitely hear the Bulldog fans in the stands, and especially after a lot of the Arizona State fans departed early, it was definitely noticeable that the Bulldog fans were the ones that you could actually hear.
And I heard that the ASU student section was going to be packed, but then they were going to empty out by halftime. It wasn't that packed, and they emptied out by end of first quarter. They were gone. It was a pretty sad showing by the ASU students, to be honest. So, whatever. They went and had a good time, I'm sure. All right, let's get to you guys, and then we'll get into numbers and things like that, and then we'll get to the player of the game and play of the game. Real Fresno State fan starts with it's time to sell out the next home game. After that, single-use plastic, as some of us thought and maybe have said, challenging Fresno State's corners seems to be a losing proposition. And I saw Andrew Wren say a couple things. I know that we were told they were going to challenge our corners, and we gladly accepted that. And as we saw, it worked in our favor. The defense finally found its mojo. Need to figure out the O-line. We'll get to that. Red zone offense this game was a struggle as well. He says it should have been 70-0. Cole Nail gets in here with some numbers. The NCAA average points per drive. This is interesting. We talked about it yesterday. NCAA average points per drive is 2.4. Fresno State is at 2.55 right now, a little bit above average points per drive. The NCAA average points per turnover forced is 4. Fresno State, after last night, is 2.4. Not very good. Fresno State is tied for first with most turnovers gained in the country at 10. I believe we're +8 on the margin, which is also tied for first. 2 are against a team not in the same division, Eastern Washington, and 8 were against a team that was on their fourth string quarterback. Barely beat Southern Utah and lost to an Oklahoma State team that just got rocked by South Alabama. That could be a rabbit hole. In short, we have not done enough to show we are a great team. Okay. Pulling out numbers and saying that. I mean, a win is a win, and that's Mike Stovall says. And I totally agree, and it's hard to win, and we've heard that from the coaches and the players. But I do think there is something to be said about if we want to be a top 25 team. We're top 30 right now, but I saw we got jumped by Florida, who beat Tennessee, but SEC's down this year. I mean, we got jumped by a lot of teams. I believe we are the top G5 school, though. We jumped Tulane. But if we want to crack that top 25, we're going to have dominant performances. And we shut out a P5 school. Just having any shutout is really good. But we saw the offense struggle a little bit. Caleb, go ahead. I've talked too much.
Yeah, I mean, obviously got a lot of numbers and stuff being thrown around. But yeah, just keep it rolling. I don't really have any direction to go off of what you said. So let's just keep it going with comments. All right.
We got. Matt says that we need to work on finishing drives. 8 turnovers. Margin should have been a lot bigger, but we shut out P5 school on the road. Huge. Let's see who we got next. Richie Rich, glad the Dogs got a dominating win over a so-called Power 5 program. However, pass protection and field goal kicking need to improve. Let's talk about pass protection right now, Caleb.
Okay.
And I saw a lot of you guys comment on this as well, and I made a mental note during the game. Our running backs and the pass protection was pretty poor. I thought we did a good job. When they blitzed 3-4 guys, we held our own. But the second they brought 5, 6, 7 guys, granted, their blitz packages were very good, and they had guys coming late through gaps. I liked what I saw from Arizona State blitz packages. But, yes, we did a poor job of picking it up. There was a lack of communication. I didn't see any checking of plays by anyone on the offense. We didn't need to, but it would have been nice to see, especially at that time. What are your thoughts on pass protection?
Yeah, I think it's alarming how easily the Arizona State pass rush got to Mikey. Especially, it seemed like it was mostly on third downs when they would, like you mentioned, kind of have like a delayed linebacker blitzing. And I mean, several times he was just untouched up the middle and in Mikey's face immediately. And so, I mean, that translated to Mikey just being, I don't know, pretty timid, happy feet, just backpedaling and just trying to throw the ball away. So yeah, I really don't like the way that looked. And so I'm sure our future opponents are watching that and saying, okay, let's just blitz the heck out of these guys and make them, make something happen quick or max protect, which it seemed like towards the end of the game, that was kind of the adjustment. We had multiple tight ends, looked like staying in and blocking, and trying to use running backs to chip block, I guess. So yeah, that's definitely a concern. O-line struggling. Mikey is kind of bailing out early, which I mean, I don't blame him, especially with all the hits he took. But it's also frustrating too that I mean he's just backpedaling, and so when he gets sacked, we had losses for 11 and 12 yards sometimes. So yeah, that's a problem that I'm sure they're gonna attempt to address this week.
Yeah. Nate says still struggling in the red zone. O-line not great. Finally, our defense proved how good they can be. Let's touch on field goal kicking. So we tied the record, or did we set the record for field goals attempted in a game?
All right.
This
So
is for Fresno State.
According to my research, so I was the stats department on this one. This was a record-setting game for Dylan Lynch. This would be a new record of field goals attempted in a game, and this would tie the record for field goals made in a game with 7 attempts and 5 made.
Yeah, and Bob makes a good point. Lynch has missed a field goal in every game so far. They need to tighten up. Totally agree. I will say this, though, about Carson and punting. We talked about Carson just booting it through the end zone. He did that. And he also had one. He got a hold of it and it bounced and stopped at
the one. Yeah.
Inch. Yeah. It was right there. So it was great. I thought it was a great punting day. Carson got better this game. And now I think it's time we see whoever's kicking, whether that's Dylan or Abe, have a perfect game from field goal standpoint. Michael says it would be cool if a single running back could pass protect. I mean, it was tough. I know they had multiple guys coming through, but yeah, that's something that we're going to have to work on. Curtis Harr, regardless of who you're playing, forcing 8 turnovers and pitching a shutout is damn impressive. The D is stout at the goal line, and I want to talk about that right now. The goal line stands in at Purdue and at ASU games, and they have set a huge tone for the season. When it happened, Caleb, they had put a decent drive together. They got down to the goal line. You said, this is where our defense makes their bread and butter. We're going to be fine here. You called it, and we forced turnover on downs. What was your thought on that?
I mean, I think the 4th and goal play call by Arizona State was curious. Just going with the play action. I don't know. It just seems like odds are, like, statistically, like if you just run it up the middle like 4 times in a row, you're probably going to get the 1 yard at least one time in there. That's just my fan football brain operating. So I probably would have just tried to QB sneak it. But I mean, with backup quarterbacks in there, and maybe they don't have as much confidence in there, making sure it's a clean exchange from the center and then getting a good push. So I think that overall, Fresno's goal line defense is really solid, which is a good strength to have on this team. So. Yeah, credit to Coach Coyle and the defense for putting that together. And I mean, it seems like the defense is really carrying like the momentum for this team, because there were so many drives this game where the offense, it kind of put a couple decent plays together, kind of building, and then there'd be a penalty or a sack, and we kind of stall things out. But I mean, the defense were playing with intensity the whole game, and yeah, so just credit to the defense for showing up, because I know that the pitching a shutout is a huge deal for that defense.
Yeah, Chris Lake says defense dominant, and Ryan says it's always good to get the field goal kicker game practice. So there's a positive there for Dylan, and it's true. I wanted to get to King of My Castle. Should have been 50-0, and he says run the ball. So we saw Mikey Keene throw, I had the number in front of me, 49 pass attempts.
Yeah.
32 for 49. We had 34 total rushing attempts. And, this coaches saw what we saw. And, I mean, they get paid for this. So it was a lucky guess on our part. I don't know. Maybe I should give us some credit. But short passing game. We said that that's where we would find success, and we did early on. Too. But I will say there's multiple times in that game where I thought we should have ran the ball, like I'm sure a lot of you think as well. There were some 3rd and shorts where we dropped back, and I would much rather see us run the ball. I thought Malik was back this game, and Malik looked good. He came up limping a couple times, but he's recovering. But he moved well and hit the holes harder than week 1 for sure. And he's injured right now. And I thought, he looked. I would say better than Gilliam, and it was the opposite when they played Purdue. But I do like Gilliam and how he smashed mouth. So it would have been nice to see us run the ball and get some heavy formations in there and smash mouth on 3rd and short. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. Sherrod looked quicker this game. And maybe it helped that we were in person there, so that way we could kind of see it. But yeah, definitely different compared to Gilliam. So I mean, overall, I think Gilliam fought hard and obviously carried the ball 18 times for 69 yards. So not huge stats, but did enough to somewhat move the ball. But yeah, Sherrod had a couple bigger chunk runs. So I think if Sherrod can get back to full strength, and maybe they're more splitting 50-50 on carries wise, just to ease the load on both of them. I think that that is going to be a big weapon for the offense, and just to have that two different style of running backs back there.
Rod Jigga, number 3 and number 5 should always be on the field together. What do you think about that?
I mean, Brooks should absolutely be on the field the whole game. I mean, Mikey is looking to him on pretty much every play, and he's been pretty sure-handed. And I mean, it seems like the starting wide receiver core pretty much plays the whole game. I mean, between Brooks and Gill and Delana, those guys are pretty much on the field, and Jalen Moss too. He deserves to be on the field, and then Josiah Freeman rotating in a little bit too. So yeah, pretty big difference from last season when we're kind of a lot of guys competing for reps and a lot of guys worthy of being on the field. And this year, it really seems like those 4 or 5 guys that I just mentioned have pretty much separated themselves as those are going to be the guys that are on the field catching passes.
Hendo, dominant defensively. Mikey has to be more accurate. Really should have won a lot more. We'll get to Mikey in a sec. Hands happenings. Of course, happy they won, but definitely disappointed that this wasn't a higher scoring game. She also added on, she said, also, may I mention, navy helmets, navy pants, white top. Where is the red? And then she goes on to add, if you're not scoring a lot of points and you don't have cool jerseys, what's going to happen to your female audience? Ha ha. She added the ha ha. But I will add, I miss the red, Caleb. We're 3 games in, and I haven't seen any red.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, this next home game against Kent State, if we aren't wearing red helmet, red jersey, red pants, I'm going to be disappointed because we need to be the red wave and actually physically embody that. So yeah, I'm definitely hoping for that. I mean, a win's a win, and obviously it's just a jersey. It doesn't really matter, but I would like to see some more red from our team, and especially just with especially against a team that of Arizona State's like color scheme. I think it would have been a little nicer contrast too, just to help our team out.
Matt Mintz actually says he loves the the combination of the of the jersey. But he says wear it on rare occasions. Last but not least, Deuce Trey Sniper says that Fresno State would rule the college football world if they had the revenue streams like these P5 schools. I definitely agree, especially with the coaching staff that we have. All right, let's run through numbers and positional groups, and we could talk more in depth, Caleb, about what we thought about positions and positives and negatives to each. So I'm going to start at the quarterback position with Mikey Keene. So like I said, Mikey Keene, 49 pass attempts, 32 completions, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was protecting the ball. He didn't have any interceptions. He did force a lot. He was sacked 6 times. We talked about everybody out here sees the problems with the O-line and our pass pro.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Robert Perez in the chat said, am I the only one worried about Keene or sees that Keene is maybe a little frustrated? No, we see it. I think Keene's young. He's got 3 more years. And when you're under pressure like this, you get happy feet and you want to get rid of the ball fast. It worked during this game. But, man, dude, it was – honestly, I wasn't too impressed. Is it okay for me to say that? I wasn't too impressed.
Right. Well, I think we can say like the first 2 or 3 series when Keene was 11 for 11 for, I think it was like 125 yards or something like that. I mean, at that point we were impressed. We're like, okay, like the receivers are getting open quick. He's hitting them. They're moving the ball. And then after that, it really changed. So I don't know. I couldn't notice if that was, a Arizona State defensive change. Maybe that's when they started blitzing. But then after that, his I guess completion percentage just went way down because at the end of the game, 32 for 49 after starting, 11 for 11 isn't great. That's like, I don't know. We're not a math podcast, so that's like, I don't know, 60% after that or something. But obviously there was a change and an adjustment made there. And I mean, like they said, definitely getting some happy feet and forcing some throws. But I don't know. I mean, hopefully it's correctable, but what do you think?
It is. It's very correctable. I think it's based on the fact that Mikey's getting creamed back there. I mean, he's taking licks. And so once that happens, you're going to put a little more on the ball. And I mean, we saw him get smashed against Purdue and throw a touchdown pass. And I think that's what he's doing on a lot of his on his throws now. And Bob says Mikey was still better than last week. Yes, very much so. I think Mike, I have really high expectations, and my family doesn't like this about me. I mean, my brothers and I hold each other to have really high standards for each other. And that carries over to Fresno State football. So I want to be perfect, obviously. And I want Mikey to zip the ball. There was one pass where Mikey threw the ball at 90 miles per hour right through the middle, and it looked awesome. I looked over to you and said, wow, that was really good. But he had time to step into it. He pitched that thing. But going deep, not as accurate. He missed a couple guys over the middle again. But moving on I'm going to change the conversation a little bit, Caleb, right now, away from Mikey and change it to Pat McCann and the offense and the play calling. So we know that the short passing game was working. And it looked as though there was either a pre-snap read by Mikey or it was just the play call. And he knew exactly where he was going with the ball right away. Sometimes he was open. Sometimes he's in triple coverage. That's where he was going. But because of that, there were wide open receivers. I mean, I saw Eric Brooks multiple times running down the middle of the field. No one on him. And other guys as well. And, I'd like to see a quarterback go through his progressions. And I feel like there were some times where Mikey had the opportunity to go 1, 2, 3, but didn't. And he stare at his guy and force it. But I'm not the coach. I don't know. To me, it looked like they were pre-snap reads, and we're going to the guy that's in soft coverage because they were playing very soft coverage. I don't know. What were your thoughts on observing, the ball coming out quick out of Mikey's hand? If he's got it or not, that's where he was going. It didn't look like he was going through progression.
Yeah, I agree. But granted, if he only has, 2 seconds in the pocket, it's tough to get all the way from, right to left, going through, each receiver's route. So I'm sure he probably has one where, we saw a couple times where he forced a couple throws to Eric Brooks that was contested. And so I mean, he probably knew, okay, Brooks is going to be open most likely or has a good chance. I'm just going to go there and hope for the best. I think just part of the O-line problem, right? Because if he only has a
Yeah.
couple seconds, then yeah, it's going to be tough to actually let the routes develop.
Bulldogs Bob touches on how Coach Tedford was annoyed at the missed chances for touchdowns. Yeah. They're going to work on it. I think, my last beef with all of this is that if you're going to stare at him, be on time when they break out of the route, right? We saw Eric Brooks run a hitch and he stared at him the whole time and he was still a couple seconds late. You got to throw it before he breaks out of his route into the hitch right there, or comeback or whatever, or Brownie's breaking. So don't be late on that. And Coach Tedford, yeah, he's got a history with quarterbacks. He's going to point all of this stuff out. Mikey's going to be fine. He's young. This is really, I would say it's very difficult to be a great quarterback when you don't have time to throw the ball. So I thought Mikey did good. There's a couple things we got to, clean up. But other than that, we'll be okay. And especially if we can get the run game going, and we talked about it, Mikey will have more time and we can improve that way. All right, let's talk about the run game. Gilliam led the team in carries with 18. He had 69 yards. Malik Sherrod carried the ball 6 times for 42. Logan Fife came in the game. I believe it was out of a TV timeout.
Yep.
And ran a little read option, and he ran for 14 yards. It was great. It looked good. Jalen Gill had 2 carries for 9 yards. One was on a sweep where I think we lost 2 yards or so. No, or we gained 2 yards. Anyways, and then Mikey Keene, he's credited with 7 attempts. He had 2 yards, and he lost 67. So he netted negative 65 yards on the ground. And like I said, there were 6 sacks. So that's rough. But we talked about Elijah and Malik looks like his explosiveness is back. Looks like he got that confidence back. Elijah is still banging, and he looks good. And now we add to our, package, Logan Fife with the read option. We opened it up a little bit. May have not needed to, but we opened the playbook up a little bit to Logan. I really like that. I like seeing that.
Yeah, I do too. I think that if Fresno State can have a somewhat mobile quarterback as like a change of pace and threat option, I mean that's just going to make the opponents prepare for something else. So usually that's something that Fresno State is having to deal with on the defensive side, is dealing with an extra quarterback that could be a difference maker. So yeah, I think hopefully Logan's able to maybe find a little niche there and be a physical runner. And maybe be able to contribute that way. So yeah, I did like seeing him on the field there, and it also helped that the play that he was in was successful. I think we would probably be saying differently if he lost yards on the play.
maybe, probably. Receiving, when it comes to receiving, we had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 different players, 9 different players catch a pass. Excuse me. Which is good. You always like seeing that. Eric Brooks led the way with 11 receptions, 104 yards. Jalen Gill had 6 for 72. Jalen Moss, 6 for 46 and a touchdown. Jalen Gill had a touchdown. Jalen Moss is touchdown. He mossed the guy. And was that him? That was him. Yeah, that second one. And it was unbelievable. One-on-one coverage. Mikey Keene put it up there. And
that was
that Gill?
That was Gill on the sideline.
Oh, okay. Moss had the first one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Elijah Gilliam, 2 receptions for 17. Arsenault got in and had 2 receptions for 17. He looked good. For 15. Magdalena had 2 for 17. Josiah Freeman, 1 for 9. Jake Bouse, 1 for 3. And Malik Sherrod did have a reception but lost 4 yards on it. The name that you didn't see or hear called all night was Trey Watson. He was out there, but he didn't get a reception. He was open a couple times, but when you're running short, quick passing plays, you're not going to the tight end. But receivers looked good. I don't remember anything. I would have to be really picky. I mean, Eric Brooks had 1 drop. But he's due 1 a game. He's cleaning it up. And Gil made a good play on the sideline. There's really no complaints for wide receiver room.
Yeah, I agree. Would like to see some production from Trey Watson, but I think he was also doing a lot on the pass protection game. So obviously you got to use your strength where you can. So I'm sure in the coming weeks, Trey will probably be more of a focal point in the passing game. I'd like to see, a little bit more, targets for Jalen Moss. Cause I mean, I think he's really a bright young player that, is the future of Fresno State receiving. So, I mean, he made a really good play, and it was a good throw for Mikey on his touchdown, on down the seam. So I really like Jalen Moss. I mean, we need a little bit more from him, just to kind of take some pressure off Eric Brooks. Because I mean, if Brooks is getting 10 to 15 targets a game, eventually he's going to start drawing some doubles. So.
Right.
Moss has been very good. Jalen Gill's been really dependable too. So yeah, overall, continued, success for this receiving core.
Brian, Caleb, what is Red Wave saying on Twitter? On YouTube, Brian says Keen has been getting great help from the wide receivers. I agree. Cole says we need more of Fife, especially when Keen is not in a rhythm. Okay. I do agree, actually. I'm not one to say that because I let's stick to one guy. This is our guy. But if he can help you, why not? This is what I say, and you guys hear it all the time. You're shooting threes. I can't hit anything. You got to get to the hoop. Break up the monotony. Andy Zonneveld says, what about the direct snap trick play? I thought it was fun. I wish it went for more yards, but I thought it was fun. Sorry, what's the Red Wave saying on Twitter?
I think we're having some more technical difficulties with our Twitter stream. That's like 2 weeks in a row. So we're going to have to get the IT department to look on that because, there's viewer counts fluctuating and comments are disappearing. So I don't know. We will have to look into that.
All right. They're coming after us now. What did you do, Caleb?
Elon must be an ASU fan.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, fun story. We got on the elevator last night leaving the stadium, and it was just our crew. Well, it was me and my brother-in-law, Caleb, and his wife. And thank you, Bob. Twitter people need to join the YouTube chat. And then another guy walks on the elevator. I swear I've seen this guy before. Turned out it was Ryan Clark, and he was tweeting. And I didn't want to bother him. I'm not one to I don't like bothering these people. But I just said, Mr. Clark, nice to see you. I believe you said his son plays on the team.
Yeah, I looked it up after. Yeah, his son is Jordan Clark, I believe. So he's like defensive back for Sun Devils, and he had 5 total tackles on the game.
Okay. Robert says, who is Ryan Clark? Ryan Clark was a former NFL player and is now a TV analyst.
Yeah, he's on ESPN. I think he played for the Steelers mostly in his career.
Mm-hmm. But he did not seem happy, by the way. He was not happy. And so then, I don't know. He won't see this, but I'll tell you guys. I went on Twitter and looked what he was tweeting, and he was tweeting about Colorado State. So, and the thing I wanted to say about that was about every ASU fan in that stadium was live streaming Colorado State. They were not watching the game. They were watching Colorado State game. And but yeah, he said something about Colorado State, and he was getting into it with some people. So yeah, no, he wasn't too happy on the elevator with us. But anyways, that's my Ryan Clark story now. All right, let's continue talking numbers. I feel like we've talked enough about pass pro and the O-line. We know. So let's talk about the defense. Lavelle Bailey and Dean Clark led the way in tackles. We forced 8 turnovers. Carlton had 3 interceptions.
Yes.
Azillian Hamilton had 1. Mo had 1. Or is that
Cam?
No, I'm looking
Cam
at
had the last one.
Cam had 1.
Yep.
Forced fumbles. Lavelle had 1. And then Mounier Bailey, the transfer from Idaho, had 1. And Mo had the forced fumble. When it comes to sacks, we had, where's our totals? Doesn't even tell me.
5 total. So it looks like,
Yep, 5 total sacks, and that's what we wanted. We had recorded 1 sack, I believe, before this game. So we looked a lot better. Defense was, as you guys said, stunning. It was stellar. And I'm really happy with this defense. It's something that we should expect from the defense. And this, I believe, was the coming out party. They were not happy with giving up over 30 points a game. So this was huge. And to have a shutout. And I should say, this should be the expectation when you're playing backup quarterbacks. But they looked fearless, flying around. Yeah, they look good. Talk to me about the defense, Caleb.
Yeah, I think defense is finding their groove, and agree 100%. Like, this is the result that I was expecting last week. I think if you like put up the 2 scores from Fresno State, Eastern Washington, and Fresno State, Arizona State, and didn't put the opponent next to him, I would say, okay, like maybe Arizona State's the close win in overtime and the 29-0 shutout. Oh, that should be the FCS opponent. And obviously it was different, and Eastern Washington was more healthy and more motivated to play and put up a better fight. But yeah, overall, I mean, defense is finding their groove, and I guess that's kind of how this defense has been. They were last year, first year under Kevin Coyle, and this year too. Just finding their groove, and so yeah, huge performance, and finally got some numbers for our corners who were at the before the season were saying that this was going to be a record year for interceptions. So finally got some more stats on the board, which is good. And exactly, yeah, and yeah, forcing fumbles too. I mean, that was huge, and I mean I think we mentioned it in the preview that Coach Cora was saying this team hasn't done a good enough job of forcing turnovers, and so this is one of the best turnover performances for a Fresno State defense in a very long time.
Yeah, I don't remember one. It's been a while. It's been that long. Couple of questions. Bulldogs Bob, did Lockridge have an INT? Yes, he had that one. That was my bad. It took me a while to get to that. Robert Perez, do you think ASU will still have a team after they play USC next week? I do not. No. They will be playing San Francisco 49er football, just running it. Their third string running back will be playing quarterback. Bulldogs Bob, how did our sideline look during the game? Were they energetic? I thought our sideline looked good. I saw a couple comments. We were on the opposite side, so it was a little bit more difficult to see this week. But I did see a couple comments about last week. I had said Mikey King sitting down, wanting him to be with the team. And some more people said the same thing. They saw the same thing this week. Not very energetic, just sitting, come on the sideline, sit down. I didn't see that. I don't know. But I will say from what I saw, yes, everyone was very energetic, jumping, high-fiving. The coaches and the younger guys, I'm assuming the GAs, were going crazy, waving towels. I really liked what I saw from the sideline and the guys on the bench. Caleb, what did you see anything in particular?
No, we didn't have a great view of our bench this game. Chris on YouTube is saying that Keen was looking dejected on the sideline after poor play, but he doesn't know if that's normal demeanor or not. But yeah, I think generally speaking, our defense is usually the one that is bringing the energy, and the offense seems to be more subdued. So yeah, I don't know if that's just typical, and with a quarterback like Mikey, who maybe that's just how he processes information and is trying to make in-game adjustments.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure. I could tell you, I did see the Arizona State sideline, and no one wanted to be there. No one. No one. All right. Other than that, numbers, Caleb, are there any other numbers that we want to talk about? We talked about special teams. Eric Brooks had a punt return, and he looked explosive on it. And we tied the attempts for field goals. I think for special teams, Caleb, we're good. There were not much from me.
Yeah, overall, I think this was our best special teams game so far. I mean, Dylan Lynch, I think 3 of his kickoffs went for touchbacks, and the other ones, the kick cover team did a good job. Carson, didn't have any shanks, averaged, 51 yards a kick, which I think we'll take every game. So yeah, overall, special teams is trending up, which is definitely something we're going to need getting into conference play, tougher opponents, and, every point and field position is going to be important.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I did see from the sideline that I liked is Carson's long punt. It bounced into the end zone for a touchback, and Caleb and I were cheering on the sideline. He ran over to the sideline, and Baxter gave him a big high five. So everybody's happy for Carson. So are we. I thought it was great. Kick it out. Don't let anybody touch it, and gain some confidence. All right, Caleb. Let's talk about the Beware of Bulldogs play of the game. As I'm thinking through the plays, there's an obvious one that sticks out, but are there any to you that stick out and you would say this is the play of the game?
I think on the offense, Jalen Moss's touchdown reception for me was, it was a good play, well executed, and it showed, Mikey being able to, see the guy that was open, make a good throw, and Jalen Moss make the catch. So it may be not the flashiest play, but for me, that was like, okay, if we can take this play and just kind of build on this and say, okay, like we did some good things here, let's try to repeat that more throughout the game. So that was the one that really stuck out to me. I know there's probably some others that should be mentioned, but yeah, that for me, that was like, okay, we actually executed on offense and scored a touchdown, which was actually seldom in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could pick almost any of the turnovers to be the play of the game because it just sucked the life out of the stadium and the ASU team. And every time, I mean, they couldn't do a single thing. And then they got to the goal line and we stuffed them there. They had no chance. So, I mean, there was no life. I think you could pick any of the turnovers. At one point, I was looking at it. Was it they had 5 possessions with 5 turnovers, or was it 4 possessions with 4 turnovers in a row?
Yeah, I think their first 4 possessions were all turnovers, and they mixed in a couple punts after that.
Yeah, it was bad. So the play of the and then offensively, I need to mention Gill's catch on the sideline, stayed in bounds. He wasn't open, but he went up and made that play. And one-on-one coverage, you give your wide receiver the opportunity to do that, and he did it and walked in the end zone. So offensively, that's my play of the game. But I think you have to take something from the defense, and I'm just going to give them every turnover because there were 8 of them. So,
yeah.
And you make them pay for that.
Yeah. And there was a comment on YouTube that maybe the goal line stand for the defense was maybe the most crucial because if Arizona State gets points there, maybe they find some sort of hope or momentum, and it's a different game because the Dogs only won by 4 touchdowns. It definitely was not a blowout. So yeah, I think that was huge in terms of Fresno State maintaining momentum and just kind of being the kill shot to Arizona State.
Yeah, and Bulldogs Bob mentions foolish penalties. So moving on from play of the game into penalties, and then we'll get to player of the game. A lot of holding calls. We had to delay a game, just stupid penalties, and that's what Bob was saying. Just dumb penalties. There was an unsportsmanlike penalty. I think there was Cam did some celebration after the pick, and he got penalized. And then we also had to delay a game. So we went just back. From being in the red zone to being at the 40. And then, we should mention Raymond Scott was ejected for targeting. He hit the quarterback. I thought it was weak. It was targeting based on the rules. It was targeting. He hit him with the helmet. I mean, he hit him right in the chin. But I thought it was kind of soft. It just looked bad. It's like in basketball when you don't travel, but it looks funny. So the refs call it. That's what this was. So that happened in the second quarter though. So I believe he can come back the second half of the Kent State game. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, but I also have no idea. They're changing these rules all the time, and especially I think that he can appeal it too. So I don't know if like there's an appeal process with the conference that maybe he can appeal it. I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat will be able to let us know what the ruling is there, because we did not do that research ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Cowboy says on TV it actually looked like ASU fans. There were a lot of ASU fans there. Did they leave at the end of the second quarter? Yes, they left at the end of the first.
Yeah.
And Bulldogs Bob says we didn't miss Scott. No, we played great. That's the one positional group that we're going to be fine at. If we lose a guy, I hate to lose a guy, but if we're going to lose a guy, hopefully it's in the linebacker room because we're loaded.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Dow, did anyone else hear a woman's voice when the audio was silent? Didn't watch the TV. I don't know what that was about. So, all right, let's get to our player of the game, Caleb. Bulldogs player of the game. Do you want to start this one, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to go Carlton Johnson number one. I mean, three interceptions on his own is a big deal, and definitely a difference maker. Obviously, 8 total turnovers in the game. Excellent defensive performance as a team, but to single one guy out on the defense, you got to go with the guy with the most picks. So Carlton Johnson, pretty easy pick for me.
How about the guy with the most points this game?
Dylan.
How about Dylan Lynch? Did he have 17 points?
He sure did.
5 field goals and 2 PATs. So, yeah, I agree with you. Carlton Johnson is number one, and you might as well just give the entire defense player of the game. They just absolutely crushed it. And then, even though Dylan missed 2, one was over 50 yards, and he missed it just left from my point of view. I didn't watch the highlights of that. And then the other one, I don't even remember. He hit 5 of them, so that's good. And he beat the curse from the left hash.
Right. He did make a kick from the left hash, but I think he did still miss 2 from the left. So we're still working on it.
Yeah. And I think the one he made was within about 30 yards. So that should be money from there. So, all right. So we got Carlton and Dylan Lynch. If you could give it to somebody on the offense, who would you give it to?
Oh, maybe Eric Brooks. I mean, I do think that, like, just in terms of like most valuable player out there, I mean, he's Keen's go-to. I mean, 11 receptions for 104 yards. I mean, he is, the short yardage, need, 6 or 8 yards. Keen's going to be looking his way. So I think he should be in that conversation, because if he's not there, I really don't know who the next step go-to is. Hopefully we never have to get to that point of the season. But yeah, I think Brooks needs some love too.
And Miguel says if a player is disqualified in the second half, he misses the rest of the game and the first half of the following game. So we're good. Miguel, right. I'm trusting you on that one. All right. Caleb, is there anything else that we should touch on? Because I don't have anything down on the paper. I know you don't either. You just got home. But I can't think of anything else. If you guys have anything in the chat, or if you have anything, let us know. Anything that you could think of, Caleb?
I don't think so. I mean, I didn't notice any injuries on the Fresno State side. I haven't really checked online either to see if there were any, but I think for the most part, it was a pretty clean game for the Dogs, and should be heading into full health for week 4 against Kent State, who is another team that's kind of rebuilding. And I guess I did have one point. We were seeing a couple teams being successful with the transfer portal, like Colorado and Texas State, that I guess they had a big upset, I think, last week. But Arizona State was one of those teams that took in a lot of players, and it is not translating so far for Arizona State. So I think it's good to remember that if you're a team taking a ton of transfers, it doesn't always work out. So I think that was good to see. Okay, it doesn't always work. Unfortunately, that's Arizona State's problem.
Yeah. All Oh, we need to touch on our Mountain West scoreboard.
Oh, okay.
But first, Bob says Devontae scored today, so a little NFL stuff for you. Gosh, I didn't watch a second of NFL football today. Usually I do. I didn't.
Me neither. I was
and then
on the road all day.
and then Chris Lake is hoping that Dean Clark has some good insight versus old team Kent State. Maybe Dean should do the get to know with Kent State. And then Bulldogs Bob asks, is Sherrod back to full health? Should we see him back as a starter this week? I think after his performance, yes. He was limping. He's definitely not at 100%, but he looked the part. He looked 100% when he was running the ball. So I would be surprised if he wasn't. And, I've seen a couple of you guys say this. It reminds you a lot of Jordan Mims, Ronnie Rivers tandem. I agree. I think they bring two different things to the table, and they help this team that way. So now I just think we have to find a running back that stands above the rest and pass pro that can go in there and make some plays blocking. I think that's going to be actually the biggest difference maker and what will set running backs apart. So I'm interested to see if, Ramirez's name comes up anytime soon. But you have the Mountain West scoreboard up at all?
Yeah, so Friday night action, Air Force beat Utah State 39-21. So, Air Force, preseason, it was, Air Force, Boise, Fresno State as, kind of top three teams in the conference. So, Air Force continuing that. It's like Boise took care of North Dakota 42-18. Really no surprise there. Taylon Green played, so I know that he got kind of banged up at the end of their last game. So it looks like he's back, but George Helani didn't play, at least according to the box score. So it was mostly just Genty in this game in terms of running for the Broncos. And let's see. San Diego State took a tough loss against Oregon State. So I think that moves the Aztecs to 2-2 on the year. So, and big matchup this coming week, Boise State playing San Diego State. So that'll be a fun one to watch. That's on Friday night.
I see UNLV beat Vandy. It just means more, SEC. Just means more. Toledo beat San Jose State.
Yeah.
Texas beat Wyoming 31-10. Hawaii got smoked by Oregon. New Mexico lost to New Mexico State. Kansas beat Nevada 31-24. That's shocking. And then Cole says, all right, let's talk about what everyone wants to talk about, the Rocky Mountain Showdown. Yeah, I think that was a wild game. I can't believe Colorado State was in that game, but they had only played one game, not much film on them before this. I didn't get to watch the highlights. I saw overtime. That's what I saw. Because we were watching the Fresno State game. So, okay, what did you think about all of that and all the drama behind it, which I thought was absolutely hilarious?
I mean, I'm surprised that Colorado State was in a position where they probably should have won it. So good for them. Supposedly they're on the comeback. But yeah, it seems like Coach Prime just keeps squeaking it out. I mean, they have a real test this coming week, taking on Oregon. So hopefully that is the game that knocks Coach Prime down a little bit. But if they're able to pull out a win, I mean, that's going to be insane. And at that point, they should just rank Colorado number one, just to see what the college football world does.
Yeah, I have not seen the play where everyone is saying the refs basically handed Colorado the game. So I don't know what happened. If my wife drives home, which I'm hoping she will, or helps on the drive home, I am definitely going to look that up and watch that because I'm very interested to see what happened. So I don't have any opinions on exactly what happened because I don't know. But it would not surprise me if the refs were paid a little bit of money. I don't know. No, I'm interested to see it. Bulldogs Bob does have a question, and it's a good one. Why do you think Teddy kept the starters in so long? He says, I think he kept them in because it was extra practice with the game in hand. What are your thoughts on Tedford keeping in the starters?
I think that at least on defense, I mean, up until probably 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I mean, the game really wasn't put away. I mean, college football is weird. You get a quick score and an onside kick, and all of a sudden it's only 10-point game. So I think he just wanted to make sure that the game stayed under control. And I know that the defense wants the shutout. So I'm sure that they were wanting to keep their dogs in the game, to keep that 0 on the board. So offensive side, I would have been interested in seeing maybe Fife get some snaps at the end of the game. I don't know. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I mean, obviously Mikey was having some trouble there. And so maybe just to give him a breather and to see if Logan can, do something, especially with so many drives stalling out and settling for field goals. I would have liked to see Logan possibly get, a series or 2 at the end of the game.
Yeah, that was my thought. We might as well just help Arizona State out and play our backups on backups, and I would take our backup anytime. No, I think the same thing, Bob. That's probably why Teddy left them in, but I would have loved to have seen Fife get at least 2 drives. So I think it would be good. I know it could cause drama. It definitely would have caused drama because we'd be talking about it. I think the whole Red Wave would be talking about it, but I think it's fair to say if you're not having an absolutely stellar game, let's just see what number 2 has to offer against a subpar team. And granted, your O-line is not doing the best job protecting him. I want to keep, if he's your number 1, why put him out there when you're going to win the game, when the game's at hand? So, I don't know. And Andrew says, I'd like to see Woods or Madrigal. So,
I'm assuming that's Mandel. Well, Josh Woods has his arm in a sling, so I don't think that's happening this year.
Mandel's, I know he's trying to keep his red shirt. So I know, but you have to play 5 games to break your red shirt. So, I would have liked to seen the backups in. I'll leave it at that.
Yep. But a win is a win, and Dogs are 3-0, 12-game winning streak, which is second in the nation for longest consecutive winning streak.
I saw that. It's Georgia, Fresno State, then Washington, the other Fresno State coaching staff, and then Florida State. Some people are saying, well, I said, somewhat FSU. So we got dogs, want to be dogs. Yeah, and an FSU. All right, well, cool. It was a fun weekend. Hope you guys had a blast too. I think we're starting to see what really needs to happen for this team to be successful. And so what's going to happen is either we're going to become very repetitive from here on out, or the coaching staff, whom I trust, is going to teach these kids, and they're going to slowly get better and better. And that's what we expect from our Fresno State football team. So I'm really excited. Home game next week, Kent State. If you're still in Phoenix, make sure you have safe travels back home. If you're home already, we'll see you guys soon, and we'll see you next week against Kent State. What I think it's like or buckles and boots, and they're giving out cowboy hats and things like that. But you know my feeling on that, Caleb?
What's that?
And this is my one beef with Prime. You wear a cowboy hat to coach football. Now, okay, maybe to block for shade, that's fine. But if you're not riding horses or bulls, or working on the farm or something, it's tough for me to justify you wearing boots and cowboy hats. I don't know.
So you're saying that he's misappropriating your culture, is what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying that there is work that is done. Oh, maybe. No, I don't care. It's
farmers against coaches wearing cowboy hats.
And
don't steal my culture.
All the fake Clovis Cowboys are coming out on Saturday. That is exactly who I'm talking about, Caleb. You know who's appropriating my culture? All the white people. Oh, man. So, anyways, I just had to put that out there. So if you wear your boots, make sure they're dirty to the game so that we know that you're working in your, those are your work boots. All right. Before we get in too much trouble, we'll get out of here. Thank you guys once again for all your support. Stay safe, stay healthy. God bless you guys. And as always, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.